We do all this marketing, right, for all the Nike athletes, but the one Nike athlete who just happens to be the most marketable, who just happens to be the most noticeable, who just happens to be the most recognizable, who just happens to be the face of women's sports, period. Not the face of the WNBA, she's that too. The face of women's sports, period.
Did you catch what Nike just did? It might be their biggest marketing mistake since Bud Light took a huge hit. They managed to completely tank their brand by disrespecting Caitlin Clark, one of the biggest stars in basketball right now, treating her like she was some benchwarmer. It's hard to believe, but it actually happened.
When we have her on our roster, even if it's not her commercial per se, let's at least throw her some credit and toss her a bone, shall we? Nike chooses not to even do that.
It all started like a dream. Caitlin Clark was front and center in Nike's big Super Bowl commercial, looking every bit like the future of women's basketball and Nike's next superstar. Fans were pumped, social media was buzzing, and even Travis Kelce was giving her shout-outs. Casual sports fans were tuning in and realizing Caitlin Clark was the real deal. Nike wasn't just introducing her, they were crowning her. But then, just when it seemed like they finally recognized her value, they did something so bizarre it felt like a scene from * Dumb and Dumber Star. The very next day, Nike dropped a follow-up ad, and guess what? Caitlin Clark was gone, erased like she'd broken some major company rule.
You wanna know what I'm selling? I'm selling greatness! Asia Wilson, 3-time MVP. We got Jordan Childs, we got Juju Watkins, we got Sha'Carri Richardson.
Okay.
And we got Arena Sabalenka.
Champion.
Hustling is not easy, but I love it. Sabrina, I know you want to cheat. Thinking about it? You're thinking about it. They're gonna go fast, kind of like Sha'Carri. I accept card. Where's the card? Come on.
Oh wait, but what's in that box?
These don't come out till March. They may or may not be shirts, but if I tell you, I'm gonna have to kill you. Oh, you want one of these? Nike.com. Who wants a t-shirt?
Every other athlete from that Super Bowl had got their moment in the spotlight, praised one by one like they were winning medals. But Caitlin Clark? Silent. The face that had fans rushing to buy jerseys just hours before was suddenly ignored, treated like she didn't even matter.
Look like Nike is definitely in hot water over the Caitlin Clark commercial that appeared a day after the Super Bowl. Now, we all know Caitlin Clark had that big-time commercial that aired during the Super Bowl. Even Travis Kelce reacted to the first.
Fans didn't just notice, they took to Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and it all exploded. Why is Caitlin Clark missing? Where's her name? Nike, are you serious right now? The comment sections were filled with roasting. One fan posted, "You hype her up in an ad and then erase her like we imagined it. She's the reason we care." Another fan went even harder, "Nike, you're messing up the future." Bud Light Part 2.
So, Caitlin Clark had her Nike commercial. And, well, she didn't have her Nike commercial. She had one Nike commercial, and then the other one, they went out of her way not to talk about her. They went out of their way to not talk about Caitlin.
This wasn't just a marketing blunder, it was a slap in the face to every basketball fan who's seen Caitlin Clark change the game. She's the same player selling out arenas before even stepping foot in a WNBA game. Her jersey sales broke records as soon as they launched. ESPN analysts are already talking about her MVP potential, and she hasn't even played a pro game yet. Nike had gold in their hands and tossed it away like a worn-out sneaker.
Nike, Nike, Nike. Oh my God. Nike. Folks, sometimes it's just unbelievable. It's just I don't even know. I'm speechless. I am speechless.
While Nike was pushing Caitlin Clark aside, other brands were rushing to partner with her: Gatorade, Wilson, State Farm, even Panini trading cards. They saw the future and they saw Caitlin Clark. Meanwhile, Nike was busy fumbling the opportunity. But here's the kicker, wait until you hear how Nike tried to cover this up. It's so ridiculous, you'd think Angel Reese was handling their PR. Spoiler alert, it just made everything worse.
In typical Caitlin Clark fashion, Caitlin Clark's Voldemort. They can't say Voldemort's name. Cheryl Swoops can't say Caitlin Clark's name.
It wasn't just the diehard fans calling out Nike's mess, industry experts were stunned too. The people who build brands for a living were all saying the same thing. Caitlin Clark is the most marketable athlete in women's sports right now, and Nike just tossed her aside like she was nothing. Talk about fumbling the bag. These weren't random Twitter users. These were marketing pros and sports analysts who know what it means to have a once-in-a-generation star. They were all looking at Nike like, how do you mess this up? You had gold in your hands, and instead of building a legacy, you dropped it and stepped on it.
Somebody said, so you make an ad and you mention everyone except Caitlin Clark. She is the reason for all of the hype. Show the respect she deserves. Can't wait for CC to go to another brand that will respect her. Your history is bookmarked.
One analyst even said Caitlin Clark could be the Steph Curry of women's basketball when it comes to commercial impact. Think about that. Curry changed the sneaker game for Under Armour, and Nike had the chance to do the same with Clark. But they blew it. The initial mistake was bad enough, but what came next turned it into a full-on marketing disaster. Instead of owning up to it like any billion-dollar company should, Nike panicked. Full meltdown mode. And their attempt to fix it? It only made everything 10 times worse.
They put a commercial out, and if you guys did not hear, they released a quote-unquote director's cut. And by the way, this is my favorite thing of all.
Picture this, someone at Nike must have thought they could just slap a quick band-aid on the situation. So, they took the original Super Bowl ad and tried to retroactively cram Caitlin Clark's name in. But it wasn't a smooth fix, it was a total butcher job.
So let's take a listen to this. Nike actually put this one out after the fact.
You want to know what I'm selling? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tee.
Okay.
Nike.com.
They re-recorded it. Like, that's not even, I mean that. That's like, listen to it.
They threw a voiceover into the ad, cramming in a line about Caitlin Clark like it was a last-minute homework assignment. The result? Pure comedy. The voice didn't even match the speaker's lips. It was like watching one of those old kung fu movies where the mouth keeps moving long after the words stop. Fans were left in shock, asking, did Nike just dub over their own commercial like a bad TikTok skit? The line, Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark, I know you want a tee at Nike.com, felt so awkward and forced. It was like someone recorded it in their car on the way to work.
Sorry, Ego. They say, hey, Ego, can you just send us a couple lines? Voicemail, email, voice note, memo note, whatever the case may be. Just send us a couple lines and we'll throw the voiceover in of you saying Caitlin Clark, and everybody will be happy, right?
Social media had a field day, roasting Nike like never before. One fan asked, did they make her send in a voicemail for this? Another joked, y'all thought we wouldn't notice the bad dub. Nike was clearly on the Bud Light path. Meanwhile, brands like Adidas and Under Armour were probably popping champagne, watching their biggest rival burn itself to the ground. Nike thought they were fixing the problem, but instead, they made sure this fumble went down in history.
I mean, at the end of the day, everybody cheered because we had a little Caitlin Clark cameo on a commercial, so this should be enough. So this is what they ended up doing with Caitlin Clark.
You want to know what I'm selling? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tee.
Okay.
Nike.com.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad, right? Oh, but it was. It was worse. Fans were jokingly calling it the director's cut, but let's be real, it was more like the desperate cut. Nike looked like that kid in class who forgot their homework and scrambled to write something down 5 minutes before the bell. Except in this case, the homework was a multi-million-dollar ad campaign, and the teacher? The entire basketball world.
Take a listen. They voice over it.
Selling? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark.
She's not.
I know you want a tee.
Okay.
She's not even talking. Like, she's silent, and two, it's a voiceover.
Selling? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. I know you want a tee.
Okay.
So someone edited that in post-production.
But here's where it goes from embarrassing to downright unbelievable. This isn't just about a clumsy voiceover or a bad edit job. This is about a global powerhouse like Nike, known for setting the standard in sports marketing, fumbling their crisis management so badly it's almost impressive. They had a golden opportunity to own up to their mistake, raise their hands, and say, hey, we blew it. Caitlin Clark deserves better. Instead, they went with the corporate version of, my dog ate my homework.
Caitlin Clark, Rookie of the Year. I know you want a tee. Oh man, this is disastrous. This is disastrous again.
It's Crisis PR 101, admit fault, show accountability, and move forward. But Nike clearly skipped that class. Instead, they tried to patch things up with that awful voice dub, hoping fans wouldn't catch on. Spoiler alert, they did. And the experts noticed too. Marketing professionals weren't kind, they absolutely shredded Nike's response. One PR consultant even called it one of the worst crisis responses I've seen from a major brand in years. These are the same people who praised Nike's iconic "Just Do It" campaigns, ads that inspired generations of athletes. Now, the same experts are telling Nike, just don't.
Folks, we have footage of her saying nearly every word in the other commercial. Yet in this commercial, we just have her going, you can't make this up. The WNBA writes themselves. The WNBA nonsense writes itself. Nike writes itself. These people just can't get out of its own way. It's funny to watch.
Think about it. This is the company that gave us Michael Jordan's Air Jordans, the company that turned Serena Williams into a global icon, the company that built campaigns making kids believe they could fly. And now, they're out here dubbing over their biggest rising star? Fans weren't just disappointed, they were furious. The backlash hit social media like a tidal wave. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere you scrolled, you saw the same thing, fans calling out Nike for disrespecting Caitlin Clark. One tweet went viral, "Nike, you're a bunch of clowns." Why wasn't Caitlin's name said? That was just the tip of the iceberg. The frustration was real. This wasn't just about a commercial anymore, it felt personal. Like Nike had taken the player fans were rallying behind and treated her like an afterthought.
They went in the lab and they redid this commercial. They definitely redid it, did a voiceover on it. They had to fix it, dog. They definitely had to fix it.
And now, the million-dollar question. What's next for Caitlin Clark and Nike? Will Clark stick with a company that treated her like a clearance rack t-shirt, or will she decide it's time to lace up with a brand that actually knows how to spell her name without needing a last-minute voiceover? One thing's for sure, Nike didn't just fumble this, they burned the whole playbook. And now, everyone's watching to see what Clark does next.
At the end of the day, Nike is Nike, folks. Nike is Nike. Oh, but they put a poster in Angel Reese territory. Angel Reese isn't a Nike athlete. This would mean a little bit something if it was a Nike athlete running down on a Nike athlete in her own territory. Then we got something. This is Nike claiming real estate that they've already claimed.
It wasn't just everyday fans getting heated, content creators were all over this disaster like Angel Reese on a missed layup. YouTubers, TikTokers, and sports commentators jumped in, dissecting every second of Nike's blunder like it was game tape. One YouTuber didn't hold back, saying Nike would never recover from these accusations and even suggested Caitlin Clark should dump the brand entirely. Imagine that, the same company that was supposed to elevate Clark was now being told to cut ties with her.
Yeah, it is. It's just so funny. Nike's just fumbling of Caitlin Clark. Like, this wouldn't, by the way, like, I wouldn't be complaining that much about this if it wasn't for the fact that, like, Nike are out there basically saying that one of the big reasons why they're failing is because of a lack of their signature.
Think about how wild that is. Nike, the company that built its legacy by attaching itself to greatness, was now being seen as the brand holding back the future of women's basketball. And this wasn't just a bunch of angry tweets, this was real talk from people who shape public opinion. The narrative was shifting fast. Because
of a lack of their signature line, they are failed. Like, LeBron's aren't selling as much. All of these, like, signature lines are not selling enough. And you've got one signature line that you know for a fact is going to sell a absolute shitload, and you don't have.
And when the experts chimed in, it only got worse. Veteran sports analysts, those who've seen every marketing play in the book, were straight up baffled. One of them shook his head on air and said, Nike just can't get out of their own way. You know it's bad when the people who usually praise your brand like it's gospel start comparing your decisions to a star player missing wide-open layups. The pressure was building like a fourth-quarter comeback. Every refresh of Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok brought a fresh wave of outrage. Nike, once the epitome of cool, the brand that made Michael Jordan a global icon, was suddenly looking more clueless than Angel Reese from three-point range. Fans were roasting them, analysts were dragging them, and it felt like the whole internet had turned into one giant "What is Nike doing?" thread.
So somebody said they put her in the director's cut. Bro, you can't make this ish up. No, that wasn't no director cut. That was a voiceover from the heat that they was receiving online for people like me and other content creators calling them out, and even y'all on Twitter calling them out for leaving Caitlin Clark out of this damn commercial.
But here's where it gets crazy. This wasn't just trending for a day and then dying down. It was escalating fast. The volume of negative feedback was so overwhelming, you could practically hear Nike's marketing department sweating through the screen. You could feel the panic, the desperate, how do we fix this, energy radiating from Beaverton HQ. Picture the scene. Nike's team huddled around at MIC, scrambling like, quick, someone say Caitlin Clark's name, we'll fix it in post. This wasn't just a marketing misstep anymore, it became a symbol of something bigger. Disrespect toward the athlete fans were rallying behind. And now, the real question was hanging over everything. What does Caitlin Clark do next?